You're watching the 49ers Report. I'm Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. It is time to go into the 5 most important games for the San Francisco 49ers in this 2018 NFL regular season. So let's get to it. We'll start things off with the Oakland Raiders taking on the 49ers in Santa Clara. It's a Thursday night game, 8:20 Eastern Time on Fox and NFL Network. The Raiders, I feel, actually have the potentiality to be a bounce-back team. I don't think they're going to be an easy out in 2018. I think Derek Carr and that offensive line will gel yet again. New additions at wide receiver, such as Martavis Bryant and Jordy Nelson. Take a look at some of these key matchups here as well, folks. Zoning in on Joe Staley versus Khalil Mack. I know they like to move Khalil Mack around a little bit, but if Staley gets him, that's going to be really important, obviously, to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, number one, and number two, not let Khalil Mack totally disrupt the flow of the game. Pierre Garçon against Rashaan Melvin, new cornerback there for the Raiders. Melvin played really well last year, and he could have his way with Pierre Garçon, but I'm thinking it's going to be a really fun matchup to watch out for. And, of course, Richard Sherman against the star wide receiver for Oakland, Amari Cooper. You got Buckner against Rodney Hudson, the center there. And Jaquiski Tart. Can he confuse Derek Carr? That'll be something to watch out for as well. So the Oakland Raiders, very important game, and also a big-time rivalry game that you just don't see very often. All right, let's get to the next game here. We're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. This one in particular, Week 13, 8:20 Eastern Time on NBC at CenturyLink Field. And both these teams could very well be vying for playoff positioning here. And we know how difficult the Seattle Seahawks are at CenturyLink at home with the rabid 12s going wild here. But here's another point I want to mention. The Seahawks could be totally out of the playoff hunt by the time Week 13 comes around. So keep that in mind here, because I am really not all that faithful in Seattle being a legit playoff contender. But I do think from a symbolic standpoint, if Jimmy Garoppolo can go into CenturyLink and take down the Seattle Seahawks, it's going to be really big in terms of a team chemistry standpoint and in terms of momentum as you ride out the end of the season. So I'm looking at Richard Sherman against Doug Baldwin. Should be a fun matchup there. This one's really important. Jerick McKinnon against that front seven for Seattle. Sans Michael Bennett. Sans Chris Averill. So some different pieces there on that front seven. If Jerick McKinnon can kind of take advantage of that, that would be huge to quiet down that crowd. All right, let's get to the next game here in my top 5 most important matchups for 2018. We're talking about the 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field on Monday Night Football, 8:15 Eastern Time. Should be a major test for the 49ers run game. Why do I say that? The Packers have a really solid front seven. People tend to not really talk about that, but you got Clark and Daniels, and Clay Matthews is a very solid linebacker as well. If McKinnon can have success, if the 49ers can get push on that front line, that's going to be very, very big. But, of course, my top matchup here, the 49ers defensive backs against Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers has success, especially on the move, could be a long day for San Francisco. So Richard Sherman and Ahkello Witherspoon and K'Wan Williams got their work cut out for them there. All right, let's get to the next game, and boy, what a tough start to the season. Week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, and I am a big fan of what the Vikings have been able to do in terms of building a legit Super Bowl caliber roster. So there's 2 ways to look at this matchup here. Number 1, if the 49ers go ahead and waltz into US Bank Stadium and beat the Minnesota Vikings, that will set a tone for the rest of the season, because that just tells the entire NFL, watch out, the 49ers are here, and they're going to make noise in the regular season and perhaps in the playoffs. Now, if they lose Week 1, with all the expectations, with all the hype riding into the regular season, it could send the 49ers back behind the 8 ball. I'm not saying it will happen, but it could. In terms of the key matchups, Garoppolo against those defensive backs for the Minnesota Vikings. Sendejo, Harrison Smith, Trey Waynes. These guys are very good in that back end. Xavier Rhodes as well. DeForest Buckner against Elflein, the center for Minnesota. Played really poorly in his rookie campaign. If Buckner can get his hands in there on Elflein and just shove him around a little bit, disrupt the timing with Kirk Cousins, could be a long day for Minnesota. Could be a defensive grind, all things considered, really. All right, and then let's get to this game, folks. Probably the most important among the 5 that I talk about here. Week 17, the LA Rams, 4:25 Eastern time on Fox, but that game could be flexed to the Sunday night matchup if there is enough on the line here. And I'm telling you, there could be a lot on the line. Could be the NFC West crown for all things considered. Taking a look at some of these key matchups here. The wide receivers of the 49ers against the defensive backs for the Rams, particularly Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. These guys are really good on the outside. Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garçon are going to have to win. The 49ers front 7, can they stop the reigning offensive player of the year in Todd Gurley? Something to watch out for there. And then, here is the test for all of the hard work throughout the offseason, rebuilding that offensive line. Can the interior of that front line, whoever is there, Langston Tomlinson, Weston Richburg, Jonathan Cooper, Joshua Garnett, stop the likes of Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald? That may be where the game is won. So, Rams, 49ers, Week 17, thinking that could be the most important, but here's the summary of my top 5 most important games. Raiders in Week 9, Seahawks in Week 13, Green Bay Packers in Week 6, Vikings in Week 1, and the LA Rams in Week 17. All right, folks, you're watching the 49ers Report. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. And the 49ers mailbag is making a return this Sunday afternoon. So I want you guys to hit me up in the comments section below on Facebook Live as well as YouTube, because your question could be featured on this very broadcast. So we want you guys weighing in. I will pin a comment on YouTube for you guys to start a little thread there. Hit me up with some questions. And like I said, you could be on this broadcast. And you could be famous. And everybody loves to be famous. All right, folks. I'm Cam Rogers. Thank you for watching the 49ers Report. I'll see you next time.